Hello, yogis. If you're joining on YouTube, we are officially live. Welcome to your yin practice today. I'll be starting a couple other platforms as well, so do what you need to do to get as comfortable as you can. Maybe getting your yoga mat laid out, bolster if you have one, a block if you have one, but the props are not required, but if you do have them, feel free to grab them. So let's go ahead and I'll start my other platforms and we will get going. Hello, yogis. Welcome to your Thursday yin practice today. My name is Julianne Arce and I'll be here guiding you through this soulful journey. There are no props that are required for this class, but if you have a block, you have a bolster and you want to grab that, go ahead and grab it. Natalie, hello from Utah. So glad that you're here. We have Chef from Toronto. Welcome. So our practice today is a yin practice. And with yin, we're focused on the more solid parts of the body, the connective tissues. We're working on creating more space within the body, not so much the muscles, but more of creating space within the connective tissues, the fascia. So we have this fascia within our body, and that helps us to keep our organs together, keep our muscles in place, but sometimes they can get bunched up. And so as we go through this practice today, know that we're smoothing the fascia back out. We're creating space within the shoulders, creating space within the hips, and getting some relaxation in there as well. Hello, Elisa. Hello, Reese. Welcome to your practice. If you have any questions before we get started, feel free to put those into the chat, and happy to always answer questions. I just congratulate you for being here. Thank you for taking this time to show up for yourself to practice yoga. And let's go ahead and start. So we'll start our practice in a seated position. We'll sit with the legs crossed. You can place your hands onto your lap to start out. So palms up or palms down, either way is great. Once you're into position, bring your elbows underneath of your shoulders. Good, and allow for your eyes to close. Notice where your breath is at today. Notice if your breath is short and shallow. Maybe you rush to get onto the live today. Perhaps you just finished a meditation and your breath is already full, deep, and you feel centered. Just take notice. Do you notice how when we bring our awareness to our breath, it automatically becomes deeper, more fulfilled? See if you can activate your breath even more by drawing the air in through your nose, filling your lungs up, top to bottom, side to side, and front to back. With each exhale, allow yourself to become more relaxed, more centered, more present. Take 3 nourishing breaths. And bring your right hand up to your face. Place your thumb onto your right nostril and your pinky onto your left nostril. Release the pinky for now and inhale through your left nostril as your right nostril is closed off. Good. Hold that breath into your third eye center between your brow. Close your left nostril off and exhale through the right side. Let's do that a few more times. Inhale, right side. Close your right nostril off. Exhale, left side. Create this wave with your breath. You'll inhale left side, exhale right side, and then reverse it by inhaling the right side, exhaling left side. Stay with it a few more rounds. And this breath is called our alternating nostril breathing. Helps to activate both your left and right hemispheres of your brain. Once you've completed a couple of rounds, go ahead and release your hands down onto your lap. Now roll your shoulders up and then back. And begin to create space within your shoulders, finding gentle movement. Now begin to slow it down. Can you go even slower? And find stillness. Reach your right hand out like you're grabbing for your phone or a pen. Bring your left ear to your left shoulder and stretch along the right side of your neck. So it's wonderful to see all of you from around the world. We have France and Ireland, California, Boston. That's so neat. Bring your head back to center. Release your right hand onto your lap. Now switch sides. Reach out of your left fingertips. Bring your right ear to your right shoulder. And feeling the stretch along the left side now. Bring your head back to center. Release your chin down to your chest. Feeling the opening through the back of your neck. And gentle sensation through the back of your neck. Now, if this is good sensation, you can stay here. If you need a bit more, interlace your hands, placing your hands behind your head. Putting the pressure onto the back of your head, but not forcing it, rather surrendering into gravity. Release your hands down and gaze comes back up. Let's find a tabletop position. In our tabletop position, we move our props, if we have any, over to the side. And then place your hands directly underneath of your shoulders, knees come directly underneath of your hips. Spread your fingers really wide, bring your thumbs in slightly, and get as long as you can through your spine, pulling the crown of your head towards the horizon in front of you. Slightly tuck your tailbone under, making a flat back. And feeling your hands pushing into the earth. Can you pull your shoulders away from your ears some? And feeling your shoulders stabilized into the shoulder joint. As you inhale, allow for your head and hips to go high and your belly to sway down. Good. Exhale, round in. Bring your chin into your chest. And pushing your hands into the earth. Feel the up opening through your upper back. Inhale, head and hips go high, your belly sways down. Exhale, round in, chin comes into your chest. Inhale, back into a neutral tabletop. Neutral tabletop, I invite you to come into downward facing dog. We do this by moving into an upside down V shape. Tuck your toes under, send your hips high. Your downward facing dog, you can pedal out your feet, bending your knees left and right, left and right. Then check in with your alignment here. Your hands are rooted down. Your chest is pushing back towards your thighs. Your biceps and your ears are side by side. If your legs don't straighten out, it's totally fine. It just means that the hamstrings are a little bit tighter. But we can lift the heels up and just feeling the knees bent, getting the sits bones higher up towards the sky. Now lift up your heels and then exhale. See if you can allow for your heels to yearn closer down towards the earth. Heel toe your feet, walk your feet towards the top of your mat. As you come towards the top of your mat, let your feet be hip distance apart. And as your feet are hip distance apart, inhale to a halfway lift, lengthen up through your spine. Exhale, fold forward, release it down. And one of two choices, you can roll up or you can reverse swan dive all the way up to standing. And then bring your hands into Namaskar into Heart Center. And this is the only time we'll be standing through this practice today. I wanted you to come into a grounding position. Feeling the earth beneath you, feeling supported, feeling grounded, feeling nourished. And see if you can grow an inch or two taller. Just imagining that you're connecting with divine here. And staying down to earth and divinely connected. And can you feel both of those simultaneously? I invite you to set your intention for your practice today. Anything your imagination comes up with. My intention for today is to stay connected and to stay grounded. And despite chaos, despite destruction, despite things that are going on in the external world, can I create equanimity within? Notice what the first thing was that came to your mind. It's usually the best thing to stay with for your intention. And once you have your intention, internalize that. You can say your intention out loud. Perhaps you're at home alone. People that you know, you love, you trust, and care about you. You can always say it out loud. Say it in your own mind. And inhale, bring your hands up overhead, spark through your fingers. And as you exhale, go ahead and hinge at your hips, come all the way down to your forward fold. Have your feet hip distance apart or wider. We're moving into a pose called ragdoll or dingle. Bend your knees so much so that your stomach comes onto your thighs. And then grab onto opposite elbows and sway from side to side. So in this posture, if you do have a bolster, you can use that for support. If it's a firm bolster, you stand it up, and then you use it for support by placing your forehead onto the firm, skinny side of the bolster. You can also use a chair, your couch perhaps. There's lots of different props that you can use. You can also come into the pose without your props. If you're coming into it without props, just be mindful that your knees are bent so you're not stretching through your hamstrings. And know that you can come out of these poses at any time to nourish your body. Our yoga is a lot like our Goldilocks and the Three Bears. We want to have sensation, but not too much, not too little. And continue to check in with that. Notice when you are getting too much sensation and need to back out. Notice when you're not getting enough and you need to go deeper. And see if you can let your head be heavier. And creating space through each vertebrae of your spine. Go ahead and release your hands down. Heel toe your feet to the outer edges of your mat. We're moving into Malasana low squat. So there's a few different ways that we can come into our Malasana or low squat. If you don't have props, just come into it like this. You can sit with your hands into Namaskar, even down onto the ground. Now, this pose can be quite difficult, especially if the hips don't want to move in that way. You can also use a wall and coming up against the wall, and then that supports your back as well. It feels quite delicious. The other option is to use a block. And sitting onto a block or anything about this height, I'm sure you have a lot of household items that would be similar. So those are our options for this pose, lots of different ways to come into it. Use support if you like support, and that also makes it more restorative. If you don't want to use the support, that's totally good too. Just finding what works for your body and your practice for today. Once you're in the pose, find your breath. Focusing on the inhales and the exhales. Maybe counting the duration of your inhale, seeing if you can hold it for that same amount. Exhale for the equal duration. And then coming into the pause of your breath for that same amount of time, activating a box breathing. And during our practice today, there will be long periods of silence, but I'll always guide you when it's time to come out of the pose. So during those long periods of silence, I invite you to go internal and check in and staying connected to the present moment. Good, sweet yogis, it's time to move into our next posture. Our next posture is coming back into dangle. You can release your hands down. Heel toe your feet closer back together, hips are going higher. We have our feet about hip distance apart. Bend your knees, placing your stomach onto your thighs. So bend your knees as much as you need to, as much as you can. Placing your stomach onto your thighs. Good. With your stomach onto your thighs, then release your gaze towards the horizon behind you. Grab onto opposite elbows. Take the counterintuitive grip, changing the elbow that's on the top. I also like to have my pinkies into my elbow creases, the crooks of the elbows. Can release your head down. Just imagine the weight of the world dripping off your shoulders onto your mat. Giving yourself this opportunity to release out anything that no longer serves you, whatever that is. If you notice yourself getting dizzy in this pose, you're always welcome to come out. Some yoga practitioners have reported growing an inch or sometimes even 2 inches after they begin their yoga practice. I think it's because we decompress through the spine and create more space through the joints. I know I personally grew about a 1/2 inch taller. Release your hands down. Let's move back into our malasana, our low squat. You can sit your hips low, heel toe your feet to the outer edges of your mat, using the wall or the props if you would like. And place your elbows to the insides of your knees. Yes, Evie, this is yoga, where I'm doing a yin practice today, so you're more than welcome to join in if you like. Nice and gentle practice, not a lot of chaturangas, not too much arm balances or balancing poses, just deep stretching for today. Your hands are connected into heart center. You're lengthening through your spine. As your elbows are to the insides of your knees, feel this dynamic tension. You're pushing your elbows and your knees into one another. If your mind starts to wander, which it will, can you reconnect to this present moment, and to your practice, to your body? And you're almost there. Stay with it. Okay, let's go ahead and release out. We can release by placing our knees onto our mat. Sit your hips onto your heels. Have your knees as close together as you can. And then release your forehead all the way down onto your mat. You can use a block for this if you like, placing a block underneath of your forehead, or even a pillow underneath of your forehead. If it's challenging to get the forehead onto the mat, just elevate so that you have something underneath of your head for support. You can bring your hands back by your ankles, feeling the surrendering pose, and allowing for your hips to reset, and blood pressure to level back out, your mind to come back into center. Yogis, bring your hands under your shoulders and slowly begin to push yourself back up into a seated position. As you're in your seated position, tuck your toes under for a toe squat. And so the toes come underneath. You're tucking your toes underneath of your heels. And then we're sitting back to get the sensation opening up through our toes and our feet. So if that's pretty painful, keep your hands more forward. If you want more sensation, go ahead and sit more upright. There's lots of different variations of the pose. So whether you're coming into 10% of the pose or 90% of the pose, just know that you're getting benefits and showing up onto your mat. And our postures look different in different bodies. So if it looks different for you than what I'm demoing or you've seen on the internet or in a book, it's okay. Everybody has a unique individuality within their body structure. Just know that it's okay wherever you're at, as long as we're not feeling pain. I like to remind myself that as long as we're deeply breathing, we're mindfully moving, we're practicing yoga. This posture is one that it seems pretty simple and easy when we start out, but the longer we hang out here, the more intense it becomes. And take 3 more breaths. 2. And the last one here. Come forward onto your hands. Release your toes. Take the tops of your feet. Maybe you like to just tap the tops of your feet onto your mat. I like to rock and roll over my ankles. Counter posture for that pose that we were in. Pose is called toe stretch. And let's go ahead and move into our next pose. Let's find a downward facing dog. Downward facing dog, step your right foot forward to the outside of your right hand for a low lunge. And bring both hands directly underneath of your shoulders for support. Now I hear a lot of times that this can be painful for the knee. So my tip, if you're feeling pain in your knee here, is to roll the yoga mat up on the long edge, and that'll give you a little bit of cushion for underneath of your knee if you need more support underneath of your knee in this pose. Very common. And so check in and see if you have your Goldilocks position. If you need less, you want to come out of the pose some. Can you have your couch in front of you, using that for support to not come in so deep? Can you use a block underneath of your hands to come out some? If you're on the other end of the spectrum, you want more sensation, you can do that one of 2 ways. You can root down through your hands, tuck the toes of your back foot under, lift your knee up off of your mat. So that's one option. The other option is to come forward onto your forearms. So if you come forward onto your forearms, just check in. We want to keep alignment over depth. So if your hips shifted as you came down, come back out some. Realign and keep the hips steady. Wherever you are, breathe deeply, move mindfully. And do you notice a place in your body where you're holding tension? Or if you're feeling a struggle, can you send your breath there? And sending peace, but also sending comfort. Letting your body know that it's safe. If you're in any one of those variations that I offered, go ahead and come back to our set point, to where I'm at, hands under the shoulders, back knees down onto the mat. Then we'll begin to walk the right foot to the outer right edge of the mat, just coming off of it at a 45-degree angle. Now walk your hands over to the left so that they're just off of your mat. They give you a variety of different spice levels here. You can stay right here. You can root down through your left hand, bring your right hand onto your right knee, gaze comes up and over your right shoulder. The final spice level is to bring your left heel into your glute, grab onto your left foot, and gaze comes back towards the horizon behind you. In this position, you might get a stretch through your quadricep, hip flexor on the left side. So any one of those positions, you can try them out, experiment. And we'll be here for just a couple more breaths. And start to make your way back out. And bring yourself back into center. Bring your right knee back to meet your left. And sit your hips onto your heels. And just allowing for your hips to reset. Now bring your hands so that your hands are up overhead. Bring your right fingertips down your spine. Bring your left hand onto your right elbow. Elongate through your spine. And softening through your gaze, you can even close your eyes. And release your hands, roll your shoulders up and then back. Inhale, bring your hands up overhead. This time, bring your left fingertips down your spine. Your right hand comes onto your left elbow. It feels so good. Release that. Find your downward facing dog, coming into our lunge on the second side. So downward facing dog. Once you're there, step your left foot forward. Come down onto your right knee. Both hands are stacked directly underneath of your shoulders. Now, logic tells us that we should feel this the same place, the same way on the second side, but that's rarely the case. Usually we feel our poses differently. One side's typically more open than the other. Come into the same sensation on this side. So perhaps you were able to lower down onto your forearms on that first side and you can't on this side. It's okay, just work for that same sensation. If you can take the same variation, that's encouraged, but not required. Notice if you're tensed up through your shoulders or through your jaw, through your scalp, maybe through your fingertips, wherever it is that you're feeling tension, send the breath there. Finding more softness, more presence. If your edge softened and you notice that this posture became more accessible, you go deeper. If the opposite is true, it became a little bit more challenging, give yourself permission to ease out. If you're in a variation, make your way back into our set point, hands directly underneath of the shoulders. And then walk your left foot over, so your left foot's just off of your mat at a 45-degree angle. Walk your hands over to the right. Hands are rooted down onto your mat about shoulder distance apart. You can stay here or bring your left hand onto your right knee. Gaze comes up and over your left shoulder. But continue to push into your left knee at the same time your left knee is pushing into your hand. And feeling the stability. If you did so on the first side, bring your back leg in, grabbing onto your back foot. So bring a deeper stretch into your quadricep and your hip flexor on your right leg. Good. We're here for just a couple more breaths. Start to make your way back into center. We come into center this time, we're moving into our sleeping swan, also known as pigeon pose. Heel toe your left foot over to your right wrist. And just allow the shin to come down onto the mat. And tuck the toes of your right foot under, lift your right knee up off of your mat. Then release your right knee down, release the top of your right foot down. But let's do that a couple more times. This helps to square the hips off. Tuck the toes of your right foot under, and lift your right knee up off of your mat. Release your right knee down, release the top of your right foot down. And do that one more time. Go your own pace on that. Tucking your toes, lifting your knees, and then releasing back down. Release the top of your right foot down. And let's move all the way into our sleeping pigeon pose. Begin to walk your hands forward, placing your forearms onto your mat. You can place your forehead onto your forearms. You can place your forehead all the way onto the mat. You could also even stack your fists, placing your forehead onto your fists. Lots of different variations for this pose. If you're feeling pain or pressure in your left knee, it's important to make an adjustment. So the first adjustment you could make is to bring the left heel closer into the groin. This will take pressure off of your left knee. You could also come into pigeon on your back, figure 4 onto your back. So just check in with your left knee. Make sure that you're not feeling pain or pressure into the knee. As we hold this pose, can you reconnect with your intention? And turning it into an affirmation, a mantra, and repeating that into your mind with each breath. If your mind wanders, bring it back to your breath, back to your mantra. Disembody, feeling your body, feel connected back to your body, and where it's at in time and space. And with full awareness, bring your hands underneath of your shoulders and begin to rise up. Bring your left leg back to meet your right. You can extend your left leg out, maybe wiggle, shake it out a bit. Now bring your right knee to the outside of your right wrist, just allowing the shin to fall where it's at. One of the things that I notice quite a bit with pigeon pose is people will place their knee right into the middle of their hands, but we want to have the knee to the outside of the wrist, just allowing for the hips to square off. Good. Tuck the toes of your left foot under this time. Lift your left knee up off of your mat. With the left knee lifted up, release the left knee down. Release the top of your left foot down. Let's do this a couple more times. Tuck the toes of your left foot under. Lift your left knee up. Good. Release your left knee down. Release the top of your left foot down. Do you notice how that it just allows for deeper sensations within the pose, better alignment within the pose? And release your left foot down. Lengthen up through your spine. Take a big breath. And on the exhale, sink deep, releasing your forehead either onto your mat, your forearms, or your stacked fists. And check in with your right knee. If you're feeling pain or pressure in the right knee, bring your heel closer into your groin. You'll hear a lot of times this pose cued with the shin parallel across the top of the mat. Over time, you need more sensation within the pose. You can start to work on getting the shin more parallel across the top of the mat. This is going to really depend on the bone structure of your hips and how safe that feels in your knee. And so if you are looking for more sensation, just over time, inch by inch, allowing your shin to come more parallel across the top. Maybe someday never. It's creating space in this present moment. You can use your breath to create a calmness, to allow for your body to feel safe. It's not harm, to create a softness through your body. You'll notice a settling sensation about 2 or 3 minutes into the pose where your body just naturally sinks deeper into the pose. It's one of the reasons we hold our postures and our yin for this longer duration of time, allowing for that settling sensation to occur so that we can get deeper into the more plastic parts of the body, the connective tissues. And if we're forcing our way into them, the body doesn't feel safe, that eludes us. So how can we use our breath to create more calmness? Bring your hands underneath of your shoulders and being fully aware of your body. And start to fully rise up. Hands come under your shoulders. And bring your right knee back to meet your left. Extend your right leg back behind. Give your right leg a little bit of a wiggle and a shake. Release down all the way onto your mat, releasing your belly onto your mat. Bring your right arm out so that your right hand is rooted down onto the earth. Bring your left hand underneath of your left shoulder. I want you to roll your torso towards the left side of your mat. Your left knee will come up towards the sky. And the sole of your left foot's onto your mat. And this is opening up, creating an external rotation through your left shoulder. Pose is called a lot of different things. I've heard it called folded leaf. And so you'll hear different names for this posture. But ideally what we're trying to do is just open up through the shoulder. And creating an external rotation, using gravity to create more space in the shoulder. And start to unwind. And we'll bring our torso back onto our mat. Now bring your right hand underneath of your shoulder. And then bring your left hand out so that your left hand is rooted down onto your mat. And now twist and turn open towards the opposite side. Getting your external rotation through the left shoulder this time. Your torso is opening up towards the long edge of your mat. And the sole of your right foot's onto the mat, the right knee's up towards the sky. Breathe the softness into your shoulder, creating more space. This posture is good for counterbalancing the time that we spend on the computer and the time that we spend in the car driving. And finding a different movement pattern, opening through the shoulders and through your chest. And slowly start to unwind, to bring your torso back onto your mat. And having your both elbows now underneath of your shoulders, bring your hands forward. Both hands are rooted down onto the ground. Both forearms are rooted down onto the ground. Now bring your feet so that your feet are to the outer edges of your mat. This will help to create space for our low back. So the feet are to the outer edges of the mat. The hands are rooted down. And then we're slightly tucking the tailbone under, slightly pulling the pubic bone forward. This will create space through the low vertebrae in our back. So option is to stay right here. This pose is really good to nourish the low back. Also good for opening up through the chest. Good for posture, pulling our shoulders away from our ears. Can we create more space through our cervical spine, through the back of our neck? So you can stay here if this is feeling like a good amount of sensation. You could also root down through your hands and start to straighten your arms out. Check in and see how this feels on your low back. Okay, notice if you're shrugging your shoulders up toward your ears, can you create more space by elongating, pulling your shoulders away from your ears? So checking in here and see if you feel collapse through the vertebrae. If so, pulling your tailbone under, pulling your pubic bone forward. And tops of your feet are still onto the mat, separated out. If you still want more, start to walk your hands more underneath of your shoulders, pulling your chest through the gate of your arms. So there's lots of different variations. If you're in full variation, you're up onto your thighs or your hip bones. It's good to experiment within our yoga practice. Sometimes our body is capable of more than we think or we know. Give yourself permission to explore what you are capable of. Our mind is a powerful thing. Our bodies are powerful. And if we just keep coming back day in and day out, you'll surprise yourself. Little miracles here and there. These back bends are also energizing for the nervous system. It's late at night, you might get a little bit of burst of energy. And for me in California, I think we're almost at 4 o'clock, so I still have family time. Good to have energy for that. Let's go ahead and lower back down to belly button height. And reversing back into our Sphinx pose, we'll breathe here. Just a few more moments. Bring your hands under your shoulders, rise up into tabletop. In your tabletop, take a couple of cycles in your cat and cow pose. Cat and cow is a great counter pose for Sphinx and for seal. One of the things, the requests that I get a lot is yoga for low back. That posture is great for your low back. And something gentle you could do every day. Go ahead and find a seated position facing towards the long edge of your mat. As you're coming towards the long edge of your mat, send your legs out wide and bring your hands behind your back as we come into our forward fold. So a couple of options here. We won't be here for too long. You can use a block in this posture. You could also use a bolster in this posture or not. So come into the place where it feels natural. And then just go right to the edge. You'll hear the term edge in yoga. The edge simply means where we feel sensation, but we're not going to the point where we're hurting our body or compromising the body. And so go to the place where you feel sensation and linger in it. If you're lingering in that sensation, did you notice a settling where your body was allowed to drop in even more? If that occurred for you, may have, may not have, but if it did, just give yourself that space to lengthen through your spine and move deeper. Coming to your next edge. And take 3 more breaths. Go ahead and come back up. And send your feet forward towards the top of your mat. Give your legs a little bit of a wiggle and a shake. And wiggle and shake, let it go. And place the soles of your feet onto your mat. Knees come up towards the sky. Scoot your bum towards your heels. And lay all the way back and down. We did so much work today for our last pose before Shavasana. I invite you into constructive rest. Separate your feet to the outer edges of your mat and then allow for your knees to collapse together, to come together. And go ahead and close your eyes. And sometimes we still need a pose within our practice. Our body's craving something more. If that's you today, if there's a pose that's appropriate for this part of your practice, I invite you to go into that now. Maybe your body is craving a reclined butterfly or a twist, legs up the wall. If there's something that you know and your body is craving it, go ahead and move into that. Sweet yogis will be here for another minute. You went into a pose and you need to do that on the second side. I invite you to move into your optional pose, your yogi's choice on the second side. When you're ready, start to make your way into your final Shavasana. As you come into your final Shavasana, your resting pose, corpse pose, get as comfortable as you can. And grabbing maybe a pillow if you have one nearby, a blanket if you like. And take this opportunity to get even more comfortable. Maybe shift around a little, wiggle a little. Now committing into stillness. Bring your awareness into your toes and scrunch your toes up. Contract through your feet, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Your toes, your feet, squeeze them in tight. But relax. Letting the tension out of your feet, out of your toes. Bring your awareness into your calf muscles. Squeeze your calf muscles. Squeeze them, squeeze your lower legs. Squeeze so tight, even tighter. And exhale, release. And find a softness through your legs and through your feet. And bring your awareness into your thighs, tops of your thighs, backs of your thighs, and squeeze. Squeeze so tight. Lift up your kneecaps. Squeeze. Activate your quadriceps, your hamstrings. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And exhale, release. Find the softness. Bring your awareness to your glutes and to your pelvis. Activate. Squeeze your pelvis. Squeeze your glutes. As tight as you can. Activate. Squeeze. Tighter. Holding for 3, 2, tighter. 1, exhale, release it up. Find a softness through your glutes, through your pelvis, through your legs. Bring your awareness into your belly. Contract your belly. Squeeze your belly in, like somebody's going to tickle you maybe. Squeeze it in, even tighter. Holding for 3, squeeze. 2, 1, exhale, release down. And bring your awareness into your shoulders, into your arms. Squeeze them tight. Maybe even making a fist. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. 3, 2, 1 more breath. Exhale, release. Now give yourself permission to scrunch your face up. And at our house, we like to call this lemon face. Squeeze your face up, pucker your face. Squeeze, 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 squeeze your face. Squeeze it in tight. Good. Exhale, release. Now, do that with your entire body. Contract every muscle within your body. Squeeze it in. Squeeze. Tighter. 3. Tighter. 2. 1. Exhale. Soften. And take 3 intentional breaths. Each exhale, finding more softness through your body. Allowing each breath to bring you into more relaxation. And deeper relaxation. And releasing out any remaining tension through your body, through your mind, through your soul. And bring your awareness back, feeling your body onto the mat. And feeling supported, rooted, grounded by the earth. And feel the horizon stretching all the way around. Acknowledging the other yogis practicing yoga with you right here, right now. And all around the world. France and California, New York, Denver, and sending love, sending light in every direction. Make your way onto the side of your choice, moving into a fetal position. Allow for your knees to draw in close, and using your bottom arm as a pillow.
Notice if your body feels more calm than when you started the practice. Your energy feels more centered. Know that you created this through intention by showing up, by arriving, and you can come back to it anytime. Make your way into a seated position,
keeping your eyes closed or downcast. Bring your hands into heart center, feeling your thumbs press into your chest, your Anjali Mudra. Come back to the intention that you set at the beginning of your practice. Bringing that intention back into the forefront of your mind. Know that this is an intention you can take off of your mat into your life, where your real work begins. I offer this space for you to dedicate the energy that you created within this practice to a person, a place, an idea. And thank you for allowing me to guide you through your practice today. I'm here because this is my passion, it's my love, and there's no other place I'd rather be. As we go through these practices, know that Yin's not the only style of yoga. There's so many other choices out there that if this one doesn't resonate with you, find another one. If you want something fast, move to vinyasa. If you want medium paced, maybe hatha. So lots of different options out there. There's a yoga for everyone. I appreciate you for showing up, for sharing this time with me. Also appreciate the donations that are coming in. Amy, I appreciate it, and appreciate those donations. Part of that money goes to support the platform, and just so much gratitude for the platform for uniting us and giving us this opportunity to connect. The other portion goes to me, helps to support my family. We're in Southern California, have a little yoga studio in Southern California, and we're working very hard to sustain that through the lockdowns of coronavirus. Our doors have been closed since March, and so the donations that you send our way really help us out to keep that studio open, so that when our doors are allowed to open, the restrictions are removed, that we still have that place to just gather and practice yoga. If you ever have questions, feel free to inbox me. I truly eat, breathe, and sleep yoga outside of my family. So I have a little 2-year-old boy, lots of energy, and then also a 13-year-old daughter at home as well. So I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you just showing up and creating space, even those intentions and dedications that you send out to the world, and creating, just kindness in your heart and taking this time to nourish yourself. So thank you so much, Alexis and Rebecca. Appreciate you guys for showing up. Beatrice, thank you. Megan, I appreciate all of you. And I hope to see you here tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow as well, same time. So namaste. Have a beautiful rest of your day wherever you're at. Nora, thank you so much. Rebecca, thank you. Have a beautiful day wherever you're at. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.